How's it going, guys? Rhino here, and it is currently 10:15 p.m., which doesn't sound very late, but I've been getting up really early and going to bed really early, so it's actually really late for me right now, which is causing me to... I'm not going to be fully here the whole video. I apologize, but I am tired, but I really want to make this video. I don't know if I'm going to have an opportunity. I'm quite busy tomorrow, and this is the video that I was talking about in my last video that I wanted to make, because there's this YouTuber named Seedling who I've seen a lot of people responding to because she makes some pretty absurd claims. And I apologize that the face that you are looking at right now is kind of creepy. Not insulting her. I'm saying that she is like kind of going like that. This literally is the beginning of the video. And so I want to start from the beginning, and that's just the face that happens to be, she happens to be making. Personally, if you do that to any of my videos, I'm probably making a weird ass face too. So I'm not judging her on that. I'm going to try to get through this relatively quick, though, so let's get right down into this.
Hey y'all, this is another video I'm doing in a series with Everyday Feminism, which is a website dedicated to helping you break down and stand up to everyday oppression.
Just wanted to point out that a lot of people have, I'm not going to do this, but a lot of people have checked out this website in videos or just on their own and then talked about it in videos, and this website is bullshit. It's full of, you know, the typical feminist rhetoric that is harmful and has no backing whatsoever.
And in this video, I want to talk about some questions that we women might ask ourselves due to internalized misogyny.
Which doesn't exist, by the way.
And I'll also suggest some alternative questions that we can ask ourselves instead, ones that empower us and affirm us. So to start, I'm just going to give a very basic definition of internalized misogyny. Internalized misogyny, or internalized sexism, is the involuntary internalization by women of the sexist messages that are present in their societies and culture.
That would make sense for internalized misogyny, but for internalized sexism, that would just be sexist thoughts in general, because it's not just women. Sexism affects men too. Well, I mean, you probably don't believe that because you'll see throughout this video she uses multiple terms like patriarchy, internalized misogyny. I swear there's some others, we'll get to those, but you know, the typical feminist rhetoric that is about you can only be sexist towards women and all that shit. But no, the internalized misogyny, I mean, I can't say that it doesn't exist, but it's not part of the patriarchy or oppression. It's from women just hating themselves or just being sexist towards themselves. And actually, this woman, you'll find out, is internally misogynistic because she actually bashes on women in this video and thinks lesser of women. So, yeah.
In other words, even though we're women, we can still hold harmful ideas about women and womanhood. So we're socialized in a society that only values certain aspects of us, the ones that conform with traditional femininity.
Not true. We value a person, doesn't matter their gender, based on how they contribute to society. A woman could be not attractive at all and not feminine at all, but if she contributes to society either technologically, scientifically, medically, then she is a good part of society. Now, typically, our society does actually value attractiveness. This is both genders. This is not just women. And this is a general statement. Not all people only care about attractiveness, and attractiveness is something that you don't have to care about necessarily. You can be valued in society if you aren't attractive or aren't feminine. It's not, I mean, you're making a very blank statement, or very direct and strong, bold statement here without any evidence, and it's not true, basically, is the best way to put it.
And we can start to internalize the messages that we're taught about ourselves and other women. Even if we don't recognize that we hold beliefs about women as being inferior to men, these beliefs can still affect us. So here are some questions that I've asked myself as a result of internalized misogyny. The first one is, am I smart enough for this? Internalized misogyny can convince us that we are inherently less smart, less capable, and less deserving of the roles and jobs that men have occupied for centuries. We're taught to take up less space and ask less questions than boys.
None of that is true. Literally none of that. I mean, I'd like to know where you are taught. Where the hell are you taught that you should take up less space and ask less questions? Because I've never seen that in my life. Hands down, that just doesn't exist. That doesn't happen. What the fuck are you talking about?
We're convinced that our womanhood makes us better at certain things, like caretaking, and worse at almost everything else, like math, science, sports, leadership.
And biology, apparently, because, well, that's actually more of a feminism thing, because you're denying basic biology. The genetic, or not genetics, I don't know where that word came from. The makeup of a male's brain versus a female's brain allows males to excel at certain things and females to excel at certain things. This is basic biology. I'm pretty sure men excel typically more at science, while women excel more at math. This is just the way our brains work. However, there are women who excel at science and there are men who excel at math. This is not something that is set in stone and not something that is universal. It's something that is just a basic generalization or basic general biology. And no one thinks, I mean, yes, women are better natural caregivers. This is another part of biology. This is part of instinctual biology. And I strongly suggest you look up other biological things to learn more about it, to understand why you're wrong. But yes, women are naturally better caregivers. That means naturally, not always. There are men who are better caregivers than certain women, and there are women who are terrible caregivers. I'm saying in general. And there are other times where women are better at things and worse at things. No one thinks women are inherently worse at things because they're a woman, other than people making jokes that women are bad drivers or something along those lines. But guess what? They're making a joke.
I've often caught myself wondering, am I smart enough to do this? Am I capable of what I want to accomplish? I grew up with parents supporting me, telling me I'm smart, and yet I still find myself doubting whether my years of study are enough to prepare me for the next bit of study. I catch myself thinking that someone else should take the lead in case I'm not smart enough to do something, or I stay silent in class assuming that my answer to the question is wrong.
Wow. You do realize that I feel the exact same way. You are describing a type of personality, not sexism, not internalized misogyny. I am a follower, not a leader. I question myself. I never ask questions in class because most of the time I'm afraid that I'll sound stupid. This is not internalized misogyny. What the fuck? You literally are failing at basic intelligence because you can't realize the difference between personality and sexism. There are people who their personality is they are more of a leader. I've met plenty of women who are better leaders than men, or certain men, and there are plenty of men who are better leaders than certain women. This has nothing to do with gender. This has nothing to do with internalized misogyny, sexism, or anything like that. It has to do with what type of person you are. And I think a little bit of it is how you are, how your social life is when you grow up. But for the most part, you are either born a leader or you're not. And I'm one who's not. I'm more of a follower. That's it. That's just part of who you are.
I am smart. I know that I am. But when I open up my philosophy textbooks, it is overwhelmingly male writers.
That's because philosophy is a male-dominated field. Just like women dominate other fields. But why are you caring that the book is written by a man? What does that have to do with anything? I mean, this is a core problem with these radical feminists, is they literally care about gender too much. They are essentially sexist in their own way because they care too much about gender. When you look at who wrote a book, it shouldn't matter what gender they are. You shouldn't be looking at that. I've just finished 2 years. Well, I'm about to start my third year of college. I've had tons of textbooks. literally zero, or no, only one time did I look at what the gender was, and it was because my author had a very interesting name. That was it. None of the other times did I even care or look at what the gender was or think to. I don't know why you are.
The canonical narrative of philosophy suggests that I'm the odd one out and that my gender makes me less likely to be a good or influential philosopher.
No, no one says that. No one thinks that. In fact, even though you are in a male-dominated field, you could excel more than the males in your field. It has nothing to do with gender. No one thinks it has to do with gender except for you and your radical feminist friends. I don't even know exactly what type of point you're making here.
This kind of subtle sexism can eat away at your self-esteem. The belief that women are inherently less smart is sexist, but
no one thinks that. Well, most people don't think that.
It's one that women can and do internalize despite their best efforts. It's good to be aware that these thoughts are socialized and serve a patriarchal purpose.
There it is, patriarchy. It did take 3 minutes for patriarchy to come up, but you are then once again making claims based off of no evidence right now. Patriarchy, okay, patriarchal. What proof do you have the patriarchy exists? I'm not going to go too much into this, but basically, what proof do you have the patriarchy exists, and what is your definition of said patriarchy? Because I saw a video from Thunderfoot. I think it was one of the top more well-known anti-feminist YouTubers, and they went around on feminist websites, found a bunch of different definitions of patriarchy that were incredibly contradicting. They literally contradicted each other, and none of them exist. So I don't know what your definition of patriarchy is, but please provide that evidence and definition.
And that doesn't make them true. So question number 2 is, am I prettier than her? Patriarchy places us in competition with other women all the time.
No, it doesn't. That's actually biology once again. You love to leave out biology when it comes to radical feminism. But no, once again, it has to do with the fact that women just naturally prefer to be more attractive, and it's based on their biology. It has to do with biology, but also has to do with I don't exactly know how to describe it, but essentially survival of the fittest. Because no, that's a shitty way to put it. Essentially, we are always trying to look for, as human beings, we're trying to look for the best mate. It is just a biological urge for us to find the best mate. However, for men it's different, because we aren't the ones who carry the baby and we aren't the ones who birth the baby. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to just spread our seed, essentially. It sounds really weird, but biologically that's what we try to do. Women are trying to get impregnated by the top male, the best male, to put forth the best genes and in the best child possible. That's a biological fact. That's how biology works. And therefore, a woman wants to be as attractive as possible and be more attractive than all these other women so that they can attract that top male. That is just how biology works. It's not patriarchy unless you want to define patriarchy as just how our world works because we have biology, or biology exists.
We're consistently portrayed in the media as being catty and competitive for male attention, bitchy toward other women, and always striving to be the prettiest one in the room.
That's just real life. I go to college. I'm around girls all the time. I have a girlfriend, and my girlfriend has a lot of friends, and I hang out around them and their friends. And I also hang out around a bunch of guys because I live with guy roommates, and they have a bunch of friends over and shit. And so I hang out with both genders. The adjectives you just used to describe how women are portrayed in the media is how women, or at least all the women I've been around actually are. Well, not all the women. Most of the women. The ones at college are. So, I'm sorry. I'm getting a little heated here, but that's just because radical feminism irks me.
Or the country, or the world. The truth is, a lot of us feed into this. It's hard not to feel in competition when so many aspects of society place us at odds with each other. We compete for men in movies and TV. We compete for the title of most beautiful in pageants. And
you do realize that men compete for women in TV and movies as well, right?
even when we're competing for other things, like in sports, our beauty still somehow becomes an important factor.
No, not true. I've never heard someone talking about the WNBA and saying, oh, she's the best player because she's most attractive. In fact, I've never heard people talk about WNBA players being attractive or not anyway. When it comes to skill, it's based on how many points they score, how many rebounds they get, how many assists they get, how many steals they get, how many blocks they get, fewest turnovers, etc., etc. I don't know where you're getting this information from.
And being prettier than another woman can feel like a victory because so much emphasis is placed on the importance of beauty.
That goes back to my biology conundrum. Wow. My biology story, or in this case, lesson to you.
Without mainstream beauty, women are dismissed as unimportant in our society.
Once again, not true. That goes back to what I said at the beginning of the video about how if you attribute to society in some way, in some important way, you are important to society. That's it. It has nothing to do with your attractiveness. Now, there are some women who are placed higher in society because of their attractiveness, but so are some men. Channing Tatum, for example, is viewed by so many women as this amazing guy, but it's because of his looks and his dancing ability and how he can move his body, in their words, by the way. I've never seen any of those. What's it called? I'm not sorry. The movie where he's a male stripper, but I can't remember the name.
But we have to remember that even good looks doesn't save us from dismissal. Traditionally, beautiful women are also up against the idea of them as therefore less smart or more vain and less useful. So basically, pitting women against one another based on something as trivial and capitalist as norms of beauty is only working against us as a whole. It works to keep women fighting each other rather than fighting against the root of our problems, a misogynist, patriarchal society.
Jesus Christ. So much feminist rhetoric that's just incorrect. That's a great face to pause on, by the way. Oh, you guys might not see that because I think I'm going to do the editing a little different in this video. But no, it's not pitting women against each other. Once again, that goes back to the biology thing that I was stating. Actually, men don't want women to fight each other or be against each other because we don't care. All we care about is finding, well, it depends on the guy. Me personally, I care about finding the girl who's right for me. And I take that into account. I don't like girls who are bitchy and catty to each other. I don't like that. I want someone who's friendly to everybody, who's friendly to them. And it's just an unattractive trait to have, to be like that. Guys do not like that. I mean, we may find it funny sometimes, but that's not something that guys do, and not that a patriarchal society has anything to do with.
So question number 3. Am I being vain? In our selfie-loving culture, women are often accused of being vain for loving ourselves or for attempting to love ourselves through self-expression.
No, it's based on cockiness. This is, once again, both genders, and it's based on how the gender, or how, not the gender, how each person portrays themselves in this way. There's a difference between confidence and cockiness, and I consider cockiness to be a huge turnoff for both genders. I hate when guys are just like, you know, they're like super ripped and they're walking around. You can literally tell from the way they carry themselves that they think they're the hottest shit ever. But the same thing goes for women. When a woman thinks she's better than other people, either other women or other guys, it looks bad because they're too cocky. Sorry, I'm just going to continue.
But taking a lot of selfies doesn't mean you're vain, and being vain doesn't mean that you're shallow or vapid. I think
it's not about the selfies, it's about how you take them.
a lot of people, myself included, take selfies in order to try to love their appearance more, to find things about themselves they find beautiful, to combat what we're told is beautiful in the media.
No, most girls nowadays post a lot of selfies to fish for compliments, because if you go on their Instagram feed, you literally see a bunch of their friends saying, "Oh my God, so beautiful." And this is not me stereotyping. This is literally something you see on every fucking girl that posts a selfie. I mean, I'm not going to do it, but I could literally go on my phone on Instagram right now, find every single, like, go down the list and every single selfie. I guarantee I'd find that. It's about the compliments. So it's about boosting their confidence, really.
We also might take selfies because we're still learning what we look like, or how we're changing with age or puberty, etc. And there are many reasons to focus on one's appearance that aren't vain in nature. That said, vanity is not in and of itself a bad thing either. So I like to think of it like this. Some of the greatest writers, poets, filmmakers, and other creatives of all time were and are incredibly self-reflective. We respect people who write about themselves, make art from a personal space, write music about their lives, and generally look inward for inspiration for their craft. So why then is that not considered vain, but to express yourself using makeup or hair is? Why should I worry that by posting a selfie, someone will dismiss me as vain, when this thought has never crossed my mind before submitting a self-reflective paper, for instance? My outward appearance is just another expression of my inner self, so if one kind of expression is okay, then the other should be too. So as women, we are simultaneously told two conflicting messages at once. One is that looks are incredibly important, and we should do and buy everything in our power to avoid aging, avoid any imperfections, and to achieve an impossible ideal in order to be successful or even just lovable.
No, that's not true, actually. Guys prefer makeup because it just makes a girl more attractive. That's actually, once again, another biological fact that has to do with symmetry of the face. If guys wore makeup, it would actually technically make them more attractive too. But due to social norms that guys typically don't wear makeup, they'd be considered less attractive in that regard. Women, it makes them more attractive. It what helps with the symmetry. But the idea that you need it and that you need to get the best products and look the most attractive is not from men or patriarchal society. That is from advertising, from makeup and hair care products and face care products and just women's products in general. It's an ad campaign by them to try to get you to want to buy more of their product. This is not sexism. This is not patriarchal society. This is literally just smart targeting of advertisements. That's it. The same thing goes for, and it kind of failed, but the Axe campaign of trying, like how they spray this spray and then tons of beautiful women come after them. It's the same thing. It's not sexism. It's literally just an ad campaign targeting you.
And the other message is that focusing on your looks is superficial and vain, and that there's something wrong with that. Women are meant to be unbelievably pretty, but not meant to care about their looks too much either.
No, they are not meant to be pretty, but they are, I mean, a woman can be pretty if, I mean, a woman doesn't have to be pretty. If she wants to be, she can be, and that's cool. That's awesome. But if a girl, I mean, a guy loves when a girl has confidence. Always. Confidence is attractive in a girl. But it's when they are overconfident, too cocky, where they literally think they're better than other people because they look good, that it's a problem. You're literally setting it up as if there's just like this impossible standard to meet, when this standard is actually really easy.
So when we find ourselves asking, am I being vain? Is this superficial of me? It's probably because we've been convinced on some level that this paradox is true. So internalizing misogynist ideas about how a woman should look and act affects the way we feel about our own self-expression. So when you find yourself caught up in the internalized misogyny that almost all women have to combat in our society, try asking yourselves these questions instead.
We're not going to get into this because it's just going to be some bullshit question. So I'm actually going to be ending the video here. Let's see what the comment... Oh! Yay! Oh, I want to mention this. Sorry that it's at the end of the video, not the beginning of the video. But Hunter Avalone He is actually the one who led me to this video. He made a response to this video that was unbelievably demolishing. And so, yeah, Hunter Evelyn, his channel link will be in the description below. Check him out if you haven't seen his video. But he also makes a bunch of really good videos on similar topics. So thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to comment, rate, and subscribe. And as always, have a nice day.